desired result. So you had that, enthusiasm all over the place. And the innovations were classified into different things, like where you get into certain resources requirement or can you do it yourself. So with this short example, I think my view would also be that change around you comes along and is far more sustainable if you include society and you look at the inclusion of the CSR initiatives, what you are doing, and what is the orientation you have, and of course, lastly, any change, your actions don't really count for anything unless you are able to measure what you are doing. So if you've measured all this, and then you have gone to the feedback mechanism and made your changes again to reorient and get the desired results, you're not far behind. Any kind of disruptive change you can take care of, yes, that's quite possible. So I thought I'd give you one example and then give others a chance to speak.
Terrific.
Thank you.
So 2 points I take from there. One, as a culture, we need to create a culture where people dare to fail. And the social inclusion actually is business relevant. So we need to do that. Great. Preeti, your story, what would you like to share?
Thank you. I think it was wonderful listening to the eminent speakers over here. I'd like to share a small, incident that sort of brought about a change. I joined Birlasoft 3 years back, 3.5, I think about three years and 2 months in London. I moved from US to London and I joined Birlasoft there. Interestingly, I worked there for a year and I used to keep coming to Delhi, which is, Noida is our headquarters. And I was offered the role of the COO, about a year of my joining. So I had to move to Delhi. You can understand the kind of change that brings in, when you are shifting after having lived 7-8 years in the West, and you're coming back with your children and you are quite happy coming to land, but the children have got used to that world and you're making that shift. So the issue is not about the personal part of it, but I want to bring this because I stayed in the guest house of the CK Birla Group, for about a month before I went house hunting. And it was a time when our CEO had left and a new CEO had joined and our CEO had joined in US. So literally I was having to run the show, the entire show, here offshore. And you know how Indian companies are, IT companies are, where most of the, delivery is done from offshore and done from some on-site locations. And we are a global company. So we have about 700 people on, in various parts of the world, especially in US and in UK. And, about 3,000 odd people in the various centers in India. Typically, any other IT company has that. But the incident that I'm about to share is when I walked down the second or third morning for breakfast on the ground floor, we were given the upper rooms in the guest house with my children. And we sat down. There was, I was told by the orderlies over there or the cooks, that there's one very senior gentleman from the group. He's been in the group for about, umpteen years, maybe 40 years or 45 years. And he's over there, so it'll be good if you can introduce yourself and, tell him who you are. So I very happily went, typical, and went and sat down with my children and I said, hello, Mr. So-and-so, I'm Preeti Das. And, Birlasoft from, I was in London anyways, I've just moved from London and I've now taken over the COO. So he was reading his Economic Times and he looked at me and said, and that is it. That was a reaction. So and my daughter who was having her cornflakes, she looks at me like this. It was like, I told you so. Okay. And she didn't say a word after that. And I could see that. My son he was ignoring me. He's the elder one. Now, what happens is, after a second, I said, Mr. So-and-so, can we, have you heard about Birlasoft? He said, yeah, those guys, don't even talk about them. Every year the CEO changes, every year the CEO changes. So I don't know how many I have met in my entire life. And it's, let's see, that was the reaction. And I said, okay, nice meeting you. And then I go upstairs and you have a pent-up daughter who looks, I told you not to leave Oracle and join this company. this is ridiculous. I mean, why would you do that? A lovely job in US, you made me move from US to London, and now from London to India. What are you making me do? And it was such a, literally she was belligerent. I'm sure she was belligerent more because she was having to face the music, but she just didn't like that label, which is an unknown brand, as opposed to my mom working for Microsoft and Oracle and stuff like that. Now you see how it impacts. So I said, you know what? I don't think you want to be working for an existing branded company. Why don't you become the brand? You create the brand. That's an opportunity. You've already done that before, right? I have done that before. I don't need to be part of somebody else's created brand. So that was the day. And just about 7 months back, 6-7 months back, there was, Dhoni happens to be the ambassador of one of the group companies, and there was this dinner set with him in Taj, and we all the CEOs had gone there. And by that time, I had become the CEO, and, that was probably because the results had shown very well, and I was elevated. This was about in the month of October. So the same gentleman was talking on the phone at the lift, and very senior gentleman. And suddenly he switches off his phone, comes and gives me a big hug. I said, okay, so that day I was not on the dining table. Today I get a hug. That's not bad. So I said, how are you? He said, you know what? I'm hearing really good things about you guys. You guys have done phenomenally well. And, it's very great to see that, things have changed. I said, you remember that breakfast? He just ignored me. He said, come, let me take you to the lift and let's go up, So it was a very interesting situation. But I'm just saying, this was the, this is how, when you're on the dining table and you're not, but change brings that about. And I'll explain what were the few things that, it was a trigger that day. I really thank him for having said that. I knew a little bit of what was going on, but when I actually took up the role, I must say it was horrendous. Anything that you can think of was broken. And a month later, after I took on the COO's role, I'm talking about the earlier role, I was asked by my chairperson, how are you feeling, Preeti? I gave you this excellent opportunity. I said, you know what? I was at least, the senior vice president, executive vice president in London, and I was, doing more of sales and customer-facing stuff. I really feel like a janitor right now. And she said, oh, really? Why? I said, anywhere I put my hand, I pick out muck. That's all I do, So, but it was exciting. That was a good part. Every day you go, there is some huge change you're making. And believe me, the changes were less to do with the metrics. We get too involved with metrics. The changes were more to do with people. And if you love working with people, and this is a people's industry, I don't believe technology industry is a technology industry. Technology is one of the, ingredients of what we do. We are all about people. So everywhere you go, and the worst thing was, you walk into the office, and my office happens to be on the second floor, and if somebody's been there a couple of years back, will see, you have guys and girls, I must say, standing at the coffee machine like this, hands like this. You could see the body language, extremely lackadaisical, no energy. And you would feel, this is an industry with an average age of 27 years? Is that what it is? So you know what? The first thing we did, I talked to a few, and unfortunately, the leadership was extremely noise-worthy. There was less business, and there were too many manned by the top, very top-heavy. There were 65 VPs in such a small company, and I cannot even begin to tell you how many more leadership were. Then everybody trying to take credit of the same revenue, which probably was generated by some chimpu guy sitting at the, in some sales area. It was so bad. So the credits were not going to the right people. And that energy-less organization, I must, request some of you to go and see that organization today. You will see the kind of passion, the energy, and the kind of change. It was the behavior of the people. And so I must just talk about a few key words. I mean, it's such a big story that I can keep talking about it, for hours, and I won't get tired. So probably I have to write a book someday, like most of us want to. But a few keywords. First keyword that we all devised together. We said we have to undergo a change. Say it, do it. Move from WIFM to Wi-Fi. Let me tell you what's WIFM. And you know, IT industry creates a lot of jargons. WIFM is what is in it for me. Move to what is in it for you. And you talked about that, Professor. It was so good to hear that, and that is where humility comes in. You know, it's so important. Third, you know, so important for the teams to think collaboration. It's a very easy way, but to get it in, it was very difficult, very, very difficult. The other thing that was of extreme importance was you have to understand a company where the top layer is constantly moving, and anyways the lower bottom is attritive because of the industry nature. So you have, you know, people from 0 to 4 years, 5 years anyways going because they want a better laptop or they want a better, you know, moving, changing companies. So you're dealing with a Gen Y, which is extremely social networking and media savvy. And you have a Gen, you know, at the top leadership, which is not there anyway. So I would walk into open houses, and what I would hear is, you know, when I would tell them, you know, this is what we are planning, this is a business plan, this is a vision, and say, okay, we'll see you first for the next couple of years and then we'll talk, you know. So the idea was, how long are you going to stay, you know? That was, those are the kind of, and the youngsters, you know, they are fun actually, but they are extremely direct. And at times it hits you like a bullet. But then I realized I would go home and consult to myself and think, you know what? These guys need credibility first in the leadership before anything happens. And the credibility in the leadership, it was a discovery. Was not because we are going to stay together, because 80% of the leadership was not worth it. It requires the right framework of the leadership to create a real change. If the leadership is not having those simple core cultural values, it will never happen. So that was a change, and then at that point of time, we have to take a call to move away a lot of the senior leadership and get the right leadership. And there again, 2 keywords: think like a partner. We changed the nomenclature. I had to change myself. The change never happens outside. I changed myself. I'm not an employee of this company. I'm a partner. Now, what do I do to make everybody who comes in to become a partner? So we had to have a vision. Generally, people have a direction of this much of million worth of revenue, and this is the EBITDA, the margin. We said we will call it a valuation. Forget what you do. Everything in your strategy will get aligned, and you're a part of that valuation. Then you're a partner because you hold a stake of that. So we changed that direction and said we've got one common theme that aligns everybody in the company, top to bottom, including a developer, to that passion. And typically we found people having 3 passions, and I think most of you who've done this is only 3. Create wealth. Everybody leaves some wealth behind for the next gen. They all do. Can you create for 2 more generations? I think that is one parameter, and different people have different weightages for this. Second, am I leaving a legacy behind? And number 3, am I creating a value for others beyond me? And that includes what you talked about, CSR and
I
stuff.
think some fantastic points there, and if I may. I don't know how many of you noticed, but terrific, inspiring story. Indeed. I don't know how many of you noticed really, but what Preeti said was sometimes in the evening she would go and consult with herself. If she consults with herself, where will people like us go? But having said that, but fascinating to hear that. Change is tough, and it's all about people. You know, we hear that. Say it, do it, very interesting. I also heard change or change. You know, that's something that... okay, we are going to change now, and the way we are doing it, we are going to change for next 5 minutes. This is going to be like Vishwanathan Anand, the speed chess, so rapid fire round. And the rapid fire is, Mr. Siddiqui, so for change, what is one leadership competency that you think is most critical?
I think to a great extent, this shift we are seeing for flexibility. Capability to unlearn, capability to selectively delete the past, that's where the big problem is. If you are staying fixated with your leadership style, with your mindset, you are going to be the biggest bottleneck for any change in any corporation. Okay. So maybe to a great extent, selectively deleting the past, maybe unlearning, de-learning, that's where the catch is.
Terrific. So that's the whole thing about unlearning and then learning again. Fantastic. Dr. Balian, your thought on one competency which is most critical for change.
Well, I would say that, and I'll give more weightage to focus on people, because to my mind, whether we talk about technology, we talk about anything, nothing can move without people.
Right.
So even if we want to make technology work, it is through people. So I think we need to really work, empower them, give them freedom to work, innovate them, give that freedom, and also have that kind of a tolerance for failures, you know. So basically invest, look after, develop, empower your people.
Terrific. Invest, empower, develop people. Fantastic. Dr. Devi Singh, one competency most critical for change.
I think you need to learn to be there when the people need you, or you are there for the people, and you should be able to step back. And I find that once you place that kind of trust in people, nobody ever belies your trust. I mean, they perform because if they fail, you take the blame, and if they succeed, learn to give credit to them, and it works.
Fantastic. So what I hear is be accountable. Your point about earlier point about accountability, and what you said, say it, do it, and also be trustful. 2 points. Ajay, what would you say?
Well, I have a tough task. Lots of it has been covered. But anyway, bring in passion in whatever you do at the leadership level. Passion has to come in. Then only things will be what you want them to be. Second is be humble. And if you are humble, one of the biggest qualities, I think, and one of the biggest problems of a leader, being a leader, is that you're very fond of your own voice. Listen more, talk less. The ratio should be, listening should be twice as much as you talk. The benefits you get is, youngsters who are there are far more intelligent than what you are today. If you don't capture their imagination and their ideas, nothing will work. These are few of the traits which I thought, if I can be very short.
So that's why I know now why do I change so much as a person, because at home I listen more and don't talk. Preeti.
Well, I have just 3 points: conviction, guts, and a smart EQ.
Great, fantastic. And I think we've done fantastic as a rapid fire round number 1, rapid fire number 2. So we changed well, right? We demonstrated that. The second rapid fire is about what can organizations and leaders do to institutionalize the process of change. Radhika talked about it's not once off, it has to become continuous. So one thing, sir, Mr. Siddiqui, that you think.
You know, I think to a great extent, biggest question on the credibility of leadership is walking the talk.
Sir?
Walking the talk. To a great extent, one simple thing which we can talk about, say for example, Maruti, big learning for all of us over these years. You ask all your people to report at 8:45 and you emphasize time management and things of that sort. All of us should be there at 8:45. Is walking the talk. Second is when we talk of institutionalizing, then you must bring it into the assessment process, reward and recognition process. It cannot be a country club gossiping session on innovation or change. You expect people to be, taking big risks and things of that sort. And third is, perhaps to a great extent, it will require a lot of communication. I think Radhika said 10 times, I am saying Japanese way 25 times. You'll have to keep on communicating what you want. People think one heart surgeon used to get somewhere, and he became friendly with this car mechanic. So every time, 3-4 months, he will go for 2 hours, then he will talk. So one day he asked this guy, how are you doing? He says, Doc, I am doing fine. But there is one peculiarity, one question in my mind I am not able to answer. Doc said, please ask. He says, look, I am also handling this engine, changing the valves and fixing it and doing it a perfect job. You also do exactly the same thing. Change old valves and replace and blah, blah, blah and all that. You get paid 20 times more than problem. Doctor just smiled for a moment and that said, next time, try when the engine is running. To a great extent, we always live as leaders with our own thoughts. You are to come in when we listen, when we talk of this, when we look at some of these perspectives in leadership, selectively deleting the past, creating space for others to contribute. And that's where perhaps there is strength, where you can bring in new things. Institutionalizing is somewhere will have to be led from the top.
Thank you, sir. That I was waiting for, and I knew it was coming. So, thank you. Dr. Balyan, one thing that is critical for institutionalizing a change.
Well, I think I would say that the focus should come on creating systems, procedures, which responsibility, and also at the same time create a system which can measure those. So you need to perhaps look at creating analytics and use them. And I think in coming time there would be perhaps more and more use of that. So I think that perhaps.
Terrific. Dr. Singh?
I think institutionalizing is all about the culture, and in our setup, the culture has to be where everyone takes responsibility for one's own actions, and that's what the ecosystem you need to create. Like, I mean,